Through the years, I have heard the same question asked by countless voices. Why did we not fly to Mordor on the eagles? Why did I not summon them from the very beginning? Why did Frodo have to cross mountains, forests, and lands filled with darkness when mighty eagles soared above Middle-earth? It is a question so common that many believe they have already found the answer. To them, the War of the Ring seems like a problem that could have been solved in a single day. One flight, one journey, one final descent upon Mount Doom. Yet the truth is far more complicated. Had we trusted our hopes to the skies, I fear the quest might have ended in disaster long before Frodo ever glimpsed the fires of Orodruin. First, you must understand what the great eagles truly were. They were not horses with wings. They were not servants awaiting commands. They were ancient and noble beings, proud and independent. Yes, they aided me in times of need. Yes, they rescued me from Orthanc. Yes, they carried warriors from battlefields and arrived when hope seemed lost. But every act of aid was a choice freely made. No one in Middle-earth possessed authority over them. Not Elrond, not Galadriel, not even I. But let us imagine that the eagles agreed. Imagine another history, a different tale. The Council of Elrond places the ring upon an eagle's back. Frodo rises into the sky. Beneath him pass rivers, kingdoms, forests, and mountains. The journey that took months now takes mere hours. At first, everything appears perfect. The Fellowship avoids Moria. They avoid Caradhras. They avoid orcs, wolves, hunger, and exhaustion. The quest seems destined for success, but Sauron was not blind. Great eagles crossing the skies of Middle-earth would never remain unnoticed. Rumors would spread, scouts would report them, spies would carry word eastward, and once that word reached Barad-dûr, everything would change. Sauron might not know exactly who rode those eagles. He might not know where they intended to land, but he would know one thing with absolute certainty. Something important was moving toward Mordor. His gaze would turn toward the sky. The Nazgûl would rise. Across the dark heavens of Mordor, a battle unlike any before would begin. The eagles were mighty, yet even the mightiest creatures can fall. One eagle wounded, one rider thrown into the abyss, one moment of misfortune. That is all fate would require. And what then? If the ring fell from the sky, where would it land? Among the rocks of Mordor, among orcs, among servants desperate to return it to their master. Yet perhaps the eagles survive. Perhaps one of them reaches Mount Doom itself. Would victory finally be within reach? I think not. For by then Sauron would already know. Every fortress, every road, every army, every Nazgûl, all would converge upon Orodruin. Frodo would no longer walk an unseen path. He would face the full strength of Mordor. There is an even darker possibility. Perhaps Sauron would not attack immediately. Perhaps he would wait. Perhaps he would allow the ring to travel deep into his realm before striking at precisely the right moment. For Sauron understood power. He understood greed. He understood ambition. What he did not understand was sacrifice. That misunderstanding became our greatest weapon. The true strength of the quest was never speed. It was secrecy. Sauron expected kings, kings. He expected armies. He expected mighty lords to challenge him. He never expected a hobbit. That is why our path led through wilderness, rather than through the skies. Some still ask another question. If the eagles could not carry the ring all the way to Mordor, why not carry the Fellowship part of the distance? It is a fair question. Perhaps they could have shortened the journey. Yet every appearance of the great eagles drew attention. Wherever they traveled, stories followed. And stories have a way of reaching ears that should never hear them. We needed more than speed. We needed uncertainty. We needed silence. And in the end, the eagles did come. They arrived above the fires of Mount Doom and carried Frodo and Sam away from destruction. But by then, everything had changed. The ring was gone. Sauron had fallen. The Nazgûl had perished. Barad-dûr collapsed into ruin. Only then was the sky truly safe. So why did we not fly to Mordor on the eagles? Because the eagles were not ours to command. Because secrecy mattered more than speed. Because Sauron would have seen us long before we reached his borders. And because the fate of Middle-earth did not rest upon great armies, mighty kings, or legendary creatures soaring through the clouds. It rested upon two small hobbits carrying a burden that no great lord could bear. In the end, the world was saved not by power, but by courage. Not by strength, but by perseverance. And not by the greatest among us, but by the smallest. Had we relied on power alone, we might have become exactly what Sauron wanted us to be. Every ruler who sought to use the ring believed they could control it. Every one of them was wrong. In the end, Middle-earth was saved not by strength, but by perseverance. Not by armies, but by two small hobbits who continued walking when every reason told them to stop. So when people ask why we didn't take the eagles to Mordor, perhaps they are asking the wrong question. The better question is this: would the world have been saved if we had chosen the easy path? I do not believe it would.